A photograph, grainy and half-burned, shows a sleek American aircraft diving at an impossible angle, its silhouette cutting through clouds like a sharpened blade. The caption, smeared and faded, reads, "Dauntless, the silent harbinger." Yet the radio intercept beneath it is fragmented, a burst of static swallowing critical coordinates. How could a seemingly slow biplane design from the 1930s terrorize the most modern fleets in 1944? The Germans, listening in from their command posts, were stunned. Dauntless dive bombers were neither fast nor heavily armored. What unseen force propelled them to sink the Yamato, the largest battleship ever built, and dozens of other vessels? Why did the Wehrmacht's intelligence fail to anticipate the devastation from this modest bomber? The Dauntless's origins trace back to 1935, conceived not as a superweapon, but as a carrier-based scout with moderate bombing capability. Commissioned by the US Navy, its initial role was reconnaissance, not destruction. An engineer's blueprint, now preserved in a glass case at the Naval Aviation Museum, reveals a design compromise. A rugged fuselage with a single-engine Wright R-1820 Cyclone, optimized for dive accuracy over speed. The pilot's manual, discovered in a sunken aircraft carrier's wreckage, emphasizes steady dive angles and precision bombsight calibration rather than evasive maneuvers. Yet, why did the Japanese and Germans underestimate its lethality? Could this understated design have been a calculated deception? A wolf in a sheep's clothing? Specifications show a paradoxical aircraft, a maximum speed barely exceeding 250 miles per hour, a bomb load limited to a single 1,000-pound bomb or two 500-pounders, and a crew of just two. Its defensive armament was minimal, a single rear-facing .30 caliber machine gun. However, the Dauntless's secret lay in its dive brakes and an armored pilot's cockpit that allowed near-vertical dives with surgical precision. The Germans, during intercepts, noted its slow but deadly dive profile. According to squadron reports, the Dauntless could deliver a bomb within a 10-foot radius of the target at dive angles up to 70 degrees. How did such a vulnerable aircraft survive enemy fighters and anti-aircraft fire long enough to strike? What tactical brilliance turned its weaknesses into weapons? The first major test came during the Battle of Midway in June 1942, when Dauntless squadrons from USS Enterprise and USS Yorktown engaged Japanese carriers. Initial expectations were low. Many commanders viewed the aircraft as obsolete compared to Japanese Zero fighters. Yet the Dauntless dive bombers broke through defenses, crippling 4 Japanese carriers in a matter of hours. A radio transcript from a squadron commander captures the disbelief. Unbelievable. Our slow dive bombers are sinking the pride of their fleet. The success shattered naval assumptions and forced the Reich's intelligence to reassess the threat. How did the Dauntless evade superior enemy aircraft? Was this a testament to pilot skill, flawed enemy tactics, or hidden technological advantages? In response, the Axis powers scrambled to develop countermeasures. The Japanese Navy introduced enhanced anti-aircraft batteries with proximity-fused shells and revised fighter interception protocols, focusing on disrupting the dive before bomb release. German naval strategists recommended layered air defenses and developed advanced radar tracking to anticipate dive angles. Yet archival memos reveal a disturbing lag. The updates arrived too late. Dauntless pilots adapted by shifting attack patterns, timing dives to exploit radar blind spots. A declassified German report laments, "Enemy tactics evolve faster than our responses." How did this tactical escalation influence the eventual fate of the Yamato and other capital ships? Was the balance of naval air power irreversibly tipped? The climax unfolded in April 1945 during Operation Tengo, when the Yamato embarked on a doomed mission to Okinawa. Dauntless squadrons, operating alongside newer Hellcats and Avengers, executed coordinated dive bombing runs that penetrated the battleship's formidable armor. Damage assessments show multiple 500-pound bombs breached the deck, igniting fires and detonating ammunition. A Japanese surviving officer's testimony, recorded years later, describes the aircraft as ghosts that fell from the sky in silence. Despite overwhelming anti-aircraft fire, Dauntless pilots pressed their attacks relentlessly. Maps recovered from the US Navy archives reveal meticulously planned attack vectors exploiting Yamato's blind spots. How was this precision achieved amid chaos? Did the Dauntless's role extend beyond mere bombing to psychological warfare against a seemingly indomitable foe? Each episode is a document I pull from the dust of the archives. Share your own stories. Many of you have relatives who lived through that time, and your words help connect personal memory with archival evidence. Stay curious. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode tomorrow. The aftermath of the Yamato's sinking sent shockwaves through the German naval command. Photographs taken by reconnaissance planes show the battleship's shattered hull, half submerged amid a sea littered with debris and burning oil slicks. Yet, buried within the official reports was a note of disbelief. How could an aircraft, considered outdated by many, deliver such fatal blows? Intelligence files contain intercepted communications from German officers expressing frustration and confusion. The Dauntless defies all logic. This was a stark admission. The weapon that had long been dismissed was now a pivotal factor in naval engagements. What had the Germans missed in their evaluations? Was it a failure of technological understanding or a deeper misreading of American tactical innovation? Declassified interrogation transcripts of captured German analysts reveal their growing obsession with the Dauntless's dive bombing technique. They noted its precision bombing was not solely due to technology, but also to rigorous pilot training and doctrine emphasizing calculated risk over speed. A map marked with the locations of several sunken German U-boats and surface vessels suggests the Dauntless's impact extended beyond the Pacific, influencing Atlantic engagements. The Germans attempted to develop similar dive bombers, but internal divisions and resource constraints hampered progress. A memo from a Luftwaffe strategist hints at envy and missed opportunities. Had we harnessed dive bombing with such discipline, the war might have turned. How did this tactical edge slip through the cracks in German military planning? The Dauntless's design philosophy, favoring accuracy and durability over speed, challenged prevailing aircraft development paradigms. Blueprints recovered from a captured Mitsubishi engineer's safe illustrate attempts to replicate its dive brakes and bomb release mechanisms, only to fail under Japanese manufacturing constraints. The Germans, meanwhile, experimented with retrofitting existing bombers with dive bombing kits, but results were inconsistent. Archival footage of training sessions shows German pilots struggling to emulate the steep dive angles and precise release timing that defined the Dauntless's success. Was this a gap in technology, or did the Dauntless embody a unique synthesis of machine and pilot synergy that could not be easily duplicated? The psychological dimension of the Dauntless attack also emerged in German war diaries. Crews aboard capital ships reported a chilling effect, anticipating the characteristic dive sound, and the sudden silence before the bomb strike created intense fear and confusion. One entry reads, "The dive bomber's shadow is death itself." This intangible factor eroded morale and disrupted coordinated defenses, compounding the physical damage inflicted. The Germans attempted to simulate dive bombing attacks in training, but the emotional toll on their own crews was palpable. Could the Dauntless's impact be measured not only in tons of explosives, but in the fracture of enemy resolve? How deeply did this shape naval engagements beyond the battlefield? By the final years of the war, the Dauntless had evolved into a symbol of asymmetric power, small, precise, and unexpectedly lethal. German naval command documents reveal frantic attempts to counter the growing threat, including deploying additional fighter escorts and revising fleet formations. Yet, the loss of the Yamato remained a devastating blow, emblematic of broader strategic failures. A faded map from April 1945 details the sinking route, overlaid with annotations of Dauntless attack vectors, suggesting meticulous planning and coordination. Was this meticulous orchestration the true secret behind the Dauntless's success? Or did it expose vulnerabilities within the once mighty Axis naval strategy that no technology could mask? In the months following the Yamato's destruction, German naval archives reveal a surge in classified reports analyzing the Dauntless's operational patterns. One document marked "Top Secret Details," reconnaissance photos of American carrier groups, highlighting the tactical deployment of Dauntless squadrons alongside more advanced aircraft. The juxtaposition of the Dauntless's slow, methodical dive bombing with the chaotic dogfights of faster fighters created a multifaceted threat that overwhelmed Axis defenses. A faded map annotates the Pacific theater. pinpointing dozens of sinkings attributed to Dauntless attacks, numbers that far exceeded initial estimates. How did such an ostensibly obsolete aircraft manage to remain a cornerstone of American naval air power until the war's end? Was its longevity a testament to adaptability, or was there a hidden element in its usage that the Germans never decoded? Further insight comes from intercepted Japanese communications, revealing frustration over the Dauntless's resilience. Despite the introduction of the more modern A6M0 and improved anti-aircraft artillery, Japanese commanders noted that Dauntless pilots continued their deadly dive with unwavering resolve. Photographs from the wreckage of a downed Dauntless show modifications, reinforced armor plating around the cockpit, and upgraded bomb release systems, indicating continuous field improvements. German intelligence reports suggest that this incremental evolution, combined with relentless pilot training, created a weapon system that adapted faster than enemy countermeasures. Could this relentless refinement, invisible in initial assessments, have been the true source of the Dauntless's enduring threat? The psychological warfare dimension escalated as well. German sailors and officers reported a growing dread associated with the Dauntless's signature dive, an ominous whistle followed by a sudden silence before the bomb hit. An intercepted diary entry from a German destroyer captain reads, "We knew the dive bomber was coming before we saw it. The silence was worse than the explosion." This intangible fear hampered crew efficiency and response times, contributing to the success of Dauntless strikes. Training films produced by the Kriegsmarine attempt to simulate this stress, but the visual effects fell short of replicating the real terror. Was the Dauntless's impact as much about breaking enemy morale as about physical destruction? How did this psychological edge factor into the broader naval equation? By late 1944, German attempts to counter the Dauntless included deploying specialized fighter units tasked with intercepting dive bombers before their attack runs. However, radio logs reveal coordination failures and delays, allowing Dauntless squadrons to exploit gaps in coverage. A tactical map from December 1944 shows repeated attack corridors used by Dauntless pilots, suggesting a level of operational intelligence and planning underestimated by German commanders. Furthermore, captured training manuals emphasize the importance of surprise and dive angle precision, elements that German defenses struggled to neutralize. Could the persistence of these vulnerabilities indicate a fundamental flaw in German naval tactics? Was the Dauntless's threat as much a consequence of enemy shortcomings as its own capabilities? The Dauntless's role in sinking not only the Yamato, but also dozens of other vessels forced a re-evaluation of naval air power doctrines across the Axis. German military theorists debated the implications of precision dive bombing versus mass torpedo attacks. A confidential memorandum from a naval strategist warns, "Ignoring the Dauntless's methodology risks the loss of our capital ships." Despite this, resource shortages and inter-service rivalries hindered effective countermeasures. Photographs of hurriedly retrofitted anti-aircraft positions show desperation rather than strategy. Was this failure to adapt a symptom of broader systemic issues within the German war machine? How deeply did the Dauntless expose these fractures? As Allied forces closed in on Japan, the Dauntless remained a linchpin of naval air operations, its legacy etched in the wreckage of once proud fleets. German reports from early 1945 detail ongoing efforts to dissect its design and tactics, but concede that the combination of pilot skill, tactical innovation, and incremental upgrades created a weapon beyond simple replication. A final, partially decoded radio intercept reveals a German officer's grim conclusion: "The Dauntless is not merely an aircraft. It is a doctrine we failed to understand." What lessons did the Germans fail to grasp, and how did this failure shape the final chapters of naval warfare in World War II? As the war neared its brutal conclusion, German naval intelligence compiled an exhaustive dossier titled Operational Analysis of the Dauntless Dive Bomber. This 1945 report, preserved in fragmentary form, details how the Dauntless exploited not just technical design, but also the psychological and logistical weaknesses of Axis fleets. Among the documents, a faded schematic illustrates the bomb release mechanism, emphasizing its timing precision, down to milliseconds, to ensure maximum armor penetration. A grainy photograph torn at the edges, captures a dauntless pilot amidst the chaos of battle, his face obscured but eyes fixed with steely resolve. How did such precision and resolve develop in a plane that many had dismissed as an anachronism? Was the Dauntless's success a product of superior engineering, pilot training, or a deeper integration of both? The dossier also highlights the strategic missteps of German command. A series of intercepted orders revealed delays and confusion in adjusting fleet formations and air defenses once the Dauntless's threat became undeniable. One order, dated March 1945, commands immediate reinforcement of anti-dive bombing protocols. Yet follow-up reports show these directives were inconsistently executed. Photographs of damaged German cruisers and destroyers, peppered with bomb craters matching Dauntless blast patterns, underscore the consequences. Why did German command fail to implement cohesive countermeasures despite clear evidence? Was this a failure of leadership, communication, or the crippling resource shortages strangling the Axis war effort? Meanwhile, American naval archives tell a parallel story of adaptation and resilience. Pilot training manuals emphasize the Dauntless's role as a precision instrument, not merely a bomber, but a tactical tool designed to exploit enemy weaknesses. Reports from squadron commanders praise the aircraft's ruggedness. The armored cockpit and dive brakes allowed pilots to survive flak bursts that would have downed faster but more fragile planes. A rare color photograph shows a Dauntless returning to its carrier, wings battered yet intact, underscoring its durability. How did this combination of durability and precision redefine naval air tactics? Did the Dauntless embody a shift from brute force to surgical strikes in maritime warfare? As April 1945 unfolded, the Dauntless's lethal efficiency culminated in the final naval battles around Okinawa. German intelligence reports, pieced together from intercepted Japanese messages, describe the cumulative toll on Axis shipping. Scores of vessels sunk or crippled by dive bombing runs. Maps recovered from the U.S. Navy archives overlay these attacks with meticulously planned approach vectors, suggesting a level of operational sophistication that German and Japanese forces struggled to counter. A surviving Japanese officer's memoir, written decades later, recalls the terror of machines diving from the sky with inevitable purpose. Could this operational sophistication have been the decisive factor in neutralizing the mightiest Axis ships? Or was it the unrelenting pressure of continuous air assault that eroded enemy defenses? In the closing days of the war, German naval engineers attempted one final project, a dive bomber prototype inspired by the Dauntless, incorporating lessons learned from its design. Blueprints found in a bombed-out Berlin archive reveal ambitious plans for dive brakes and reinforced cockpits. But the project never advanced beyond the drawing board. A report from a Luftwaffe chief cites material shortages and shifting priorities as fatal constraints. Could this halted development symbolize the broader failure of the Axis to adapt to evolving air power dynamics? Did the Dauntless, in its unassuming form, expose a strategic inflection point that Germany was ill-prepared to meet? Even as the war's ashes settled, the Dauntless remained a haunting figure in German naval memory, an aircraft whose modest frame concealed a devastating truth. Precision, adaptability, and relentless execution could unmake empires. What was really hiding behind the illusion of the obsolete dive bomber? Was it merely a machine or a weapon forged from a convergence of innovation and willpower that the Germans never fully understood? In the quiet aftermath of defeat, German naval officers compiled reflective analyses, grappling with the enduring enigma of the Dauntless. Among the faded pages, a final memorandum stands out, its tone somber, almost resigned. It acknowledges that while the Dauntless lacked the speed or firepower of contemporary fighters, its unmatched precision and rugged resilience redefined naval air warfare. The document contains a haunting question. Had the Reich's military machine recognized the true nature of this aircraft earlier? Could the course of the war have shifted? A broken radio intercept from April 1945, recovered years later, captures a desperate voice. They dive with the certainty of death. How do we fight certainty? The Dauntless's legacy is etched not only in the dozens of ships it sank, including the legendary Yamato, but in the profound strategic upheaval it forced upon Axis naval doctrine. German attempts to replicate or counter it were hindered by fragmented intelligence, shifting priorities, and a failure to grasp the synergy between pilot skill and machine design. A final photograph taken aboard a battered German cruiser shows a crew staring skyward, faces etched with fear and awe as the ominous silhouette of a Dauntless cuts through the sky. What did this aircraft embody beyond its physical form? A new paradigm in warfare, a shift from brute force to surgical precision, or a symbol of a missed opportunity?